Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to add my thoughts on this report and start by thanking this House for allowing me to be on the committee. It really was, as the member for Morford has said, a time well spent, a thoroughly enjoyable and very informative set of witnesses that appeared before the committee and offered evidence as to the future and the current state of AI in this state and more broadly. So it was a wonderful thing. And for me, the takeaway was that there's no doubt that artificial intelligence is going to dramatically change the way of life for us as time progresses. It's certainly, we seem like we're on the precipice of dramatic change in technology, and the way in which we handle that and empower that and harness that will be of critical importance going forward. So that came through in spades, Mr Speaker, and it was certainly interesting to hear different viewpoints about what we need to do to make sure we're ready for that change as it comes. And there is some fear in the community, I think, about how AI will impact people, and particularly with regard to how that might impact their employment and job prospects going forward. And there certainly does seem to be some threat, particularly as I see it anyhow, in terms of white-collar employment. There seems to be quite obvious overlap in terms of the functions of what we know today as AI and what some white-collar jobs are doing. And it'll be interesting to see how that progresses and whether those labour-intensive jobs which are difficult to do currently due to cost become more back in vogue, and we find a return to manufacturing, inventing, building and those sorts of things as time progresses, and computers are doing the thinking and we're doing the doing. So it'll be interesting to see how time progresses and what happens, but we can take solace, I think, in the fact, as has been referenced by the member for Florey's speech, that at all times in human history when society has been confronted with dramatic change, humanity has found a way to prosper and thrive, and I'm sure this will be exactly the same. We'll find an adequate way to harness and build on AI and use it to our advantage, and it surely will be exciting times ahead if we do it properly. Mr Speaker, there were a few things that I wanted to touch on specifically with regards to the report, and there certainly was a wide range of things discussed, and I don't mean to discount any other things, but for me there were four things that I wanted to bring up in the context of this contribution. And firstly, we heard some really exciting evidence from PIRSA about the opportunities that would present themselves to the ag sector with the advent of artificial intelligence. And to start with, we heard some wonderful examples from the ag tech grants that have been opened recently and the initiatives that were successful in securing funding as a part of that grant program, and the technology that is coming as a result of those grant programs and that funding will have a dramatic impact on ag. It will help lessen costs, make more targeted action, and ultimately a better bottom line for ag businesses, and hopefully a better product at market for us consumers. So some really exciting things happening in that space. It was identified by PIRSA that the management of snails is something that's very much at the forefront now and not too far away. There was the evidence that ordering of chemicals and inputs would be able to be done more efficiently and with less waste as a result of AI. And there's also technology to identify fruit fly, which is the world's largest agricultural trade pest. So some really exciting things happening in technology in ag. I think they'll continue to grow and expand as AI continues to grow and expand, and I look forward to seeing how that will impact our local businesses in Narungga, our local ag businesses, and hopefully lead to better bottom lines, more profitable businesses and better things for our ag community. The other thing locally that I really wanted to touch on, Mr Speaker, and is an area of great passion of mine, is that I think AI, in the fullness of time, will present a wonderful opportunity to help alleviate some of the pressures that are being felt by our regional health system. The technologies there to help diagnose and recommend treatments and those sorts of things, I think will be a wonderful addition to areas where it's difficult to find doctors, where we might be able to empower nurses to make an initial diagnosis and have AI verify or confirm and those sorts of things. It really will hopefully be a wonderful improvement to our system. And I actually had the great fortune, in a rather significant coincidence, Mr Speaker, to have in Parliament this morning the team from Project Checkmate. Now, at the Parsville Field Days recently, Project Checkmate, which is a project initiated by the Rosemary Bryant Research Centre and co-funded by Skin Check Champions, at the Parsville Field Days recently, they set up a stall and they had trained local nurses in the diagnosis of melanomas. So they had the stall there and they encouraged people walking past or visiting to pop in and have their skin checked by a trained nurse, a trained local nurse, who was then able to make an initial assessment and then refer that assessment to AI that was on site that would either be able to confirm or deny that diagnosis. So where in the past we've had pressures put on the GP system and a little bit of a blockage form through the difficulty in getting appointments, we're able to use some latent workforce, the nurses, to make that initial diagnosis and have AI there to support them, to back them up and to confirm that diagnosis. And that was a wonderful thing. They had 170 odd through over the 3 days of the field days. They trained 8 local nurses up to make those diagnoses, or diagnosis. What diagnosis? Diagnosis. There you go. And it was really a raging success, I think, Mr. Speaker. I have Professor Marion Eckert, Mr. Greg Sharplin, and Ms. Pam Adelson in today to talk about that and talk about a path forward to how we can make sure that goes from a pilot program to an actual training program to train our nurses to improve that AI technology so that it can make that confirmation or that verification and really have a wonderful impact on the prevention of melanoma. Now, the difference between detecting a stage 1 melanoma and a stage 4 melanoma is hundreds of thousands of dollars per case. So if we can make those savings, it'll be wonderful for the economy. It will certainly be wonderful for the health system, keeping people out of that more critical care, and it will be a wonderful benefit all around. So that's just one example. And while I'm at it, I should urge the federal government at Mark Butler to agree to that funding program. They've put a rather sensible proposal forward to him recently, and I think it's on his desk at the moment, where they sort of are working to convert it, as I said, from a pilot into an actual program. And it will be money well spent for mine. And here's hoping that Mark Butler agrees and we can see that project rolled out more fully. But it's wonderful to have them into Parliament. I thank them for the work they did at the field days and training local nurses and treating local people. And it's just one example of how AI can help with our regional healthcare going forward. There are a couple of other things and they've been touched on already, so I won't spend a great deal of time on them. But I think it'd be really exciting to make sure that South Australia's continue to be positioned as a hub for AI technology. We've heard from previous speakers the current situation and current businesses that we've been able to attract and the progress we've been able to make. But as the member for Flory said, if we can target our effort and make sure that we're not trying to be a jack of all trades and really focus our attention on some areas that are winnable, it will be a wonderful thing to have here in South Australia, here in Adelaide, to have some high-tech jobs paving the way into the future. I look forward to seeing how that plays out. And the other thing which is worth touching on slightly more is that we do need to be wary about the pitfalls of AI. There's an opportunity cost for everything, isn't there? And some of the evils that come along with the exciting prospects of AI really have the potential to have a dramatic impact on people. I think particularly of evidence that the deep fake images being used for blackmail and extortion, which could be really damaging to sections of the society. So there are recommendations in this report about training people up and educating people about the evils of AI and how to spot those pitfalls and identify them before they become a problem, which is a really valuable thing and might be of the highest priority in this report going forward. So really commend those recommendations specifically, but more largely all 15 recommendations. It really was a tremendous committee to be a part of, Mr. Speaker, and a really, really exciting time in our world's progression, I think, as we watch this technology develop and the opportunities that it will present to business and individuals right across the spectrum of our industry. So I commend the report to the House. I commend the report to the House. I thank the committee for allowing me to be a part of it, and I look forward to hearing all the further speakers.
Member for Hyson.
And in joining the